And does Cotality currently take the view that there are places in Australia, regions or suburbs or cities, that will outperform the rest of the country?
Yeah, there's always going to be, I think, a fairly diverse tapestry of outcomes. For example, if I think around the capital cities, in my mind, Melbourne is probably the best placed market to outperform over the medium to long term. And the reason I say that, even though it's probably a little bit counterintuitive because that market's been extraordinarily weak, that's part of the reason why. It is very affordable.
You're talking about in terms of yields?
No.
No.
Yields are higher in Melbourne, but they're not standout. They're sort of still sub 4% gross, at least on average. I'm talking about opportunities for capital gain.
Right.
So if you're buying into the Melbourne marketplace, we haven't seen Sydney and Melbourne this far apart in prices. We talked about last time we chatted, since forever. The gap is the widest we've seen.
Because they're always sort of pretty close, weren't they, in terms of pricing?
Seemingly maybe a 15% difference. Yeah. Less than that. Now it's about 55 difference.
Really?
Yeah, it's extraordinary.
Wow.
So I think that affordability advantage for Melbourne really stands out for me. For Australia's second largest city, for an economic, a diverse economic state with arguably strong fundamentals over the medium to long term, that market looks quite affordable.
Can you get tenants down there? Can you get? Is
yes.
a population sort of allow you to get tenants in?
Well, Melbourne's got one of the fastest rates of population growth. It's mostly driven by overseas migration, which tend to be mostly short-term visas, so it's students. And absolutely, the rental market's very strong. Vacancies are still sub 2%. The capital gain story, though, has been very weak over a long time. Like we talked about, over 5 years, 1%. So I think that's probably the silver lining of Melbourne's underperformance is it's very cheap. It's probably going to rise off a very low base, and there needs to be some equilibrium between Sydney and Melbourne in terms of their prices. So partly that's going to be corrected by Sydney values moving through a downturn. Melbourne is as well, but probably has stronger upside potential. Regional markets as well. I still think some of the commutable regional markets around the country are, I wouldn't say undervalued, but still relatively good value.
And what's that mean, a commutable? How far? What are we talking about?
Within 2 hours driving distance.
So Gosford, for example, in Sydney.
Oh, the Central Coast in Sydney is a great example of that, or even Newcastle, a bit further out. For around Melbourne, it's getting out to Geelong or Ballarat. Those sort of markets. In Queensland, it's Toowoomba, the Gold Coast, the Sunshine Coast. So those satellite cities, which are commutable, they've got a livability advantage in some ways. I think we've seen a structural change in how people work, that we can see remote working going, it's probably something that's here to stay. Those markets are suddenly a lot more popular with a broader base of demand.